The district's annual Overnight Arts Festival, Mayor Muriel Bowser Presents Art All Night, is back this year to kick off the fall festival season. Art All Night is a 2-night event that celebrates the district's performing, visual, and for the first time, culinary arts with the addition of Dine All Night. The free festival will be held across all 8 wards on September 29th and 30th from 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. More than 100 local artists and over 50 local restaurants and 20 main streets and business improvement districts are participating. Visit dcartallnight.org to map out your experience for the festival and for more information.
Today on CityCast DC, it's day 2 of our fall getaway guide, and it would be ridiculous if we let this week go by without talking about the most obvious of fall activities, leaf-peeping. We've got a studio full of producers today to talk through the best local spots to see beautiful foliage, all without a car. It's Tuesday, September 26th. I'm Priyanka Tilve, and here's what DC is talking about. Susanna, Julia, Kayla, hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. So excited to talk fall with you. I'm a big fan of just fall generally, but also especially the way the trees all change. And I feel like when people think of leaf peeping in the area, they think of Shenandoah.
That's the obvious.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's not only is it the obvious one, but it's like you make a whole day trip out of it. You're there in your sweater, you're cozy, you're there in your little bean boots, you're strolling along, you're looking at all of the gorgeous scenery. Outside of New England, I think Shenandoah is and Skyline Drive in particular is one of the best places to see leaves and the changing colors in the fall.
Yeah, pretty spectacular.
Yeah, fully agree. But as someone who doesn't have a car, I am very grumpy about the fact that there's no way to get there otherwise. Why is there no
carpool? We can carpool.
Well, sure. And I would love to go leaf peeping with you, Julia. But why isn't there a bus to Skyline Drive or a train stop that takes you anywhere near there?
Gatekeepy.
Yeah, you're right. It's gatekeepy, and it makes me mad. And so that kind of inspired us to talk about places that you can see pretty leaves and not have to own a car. So yeah, Susanna, you were looking into Harper's Ferry, right? Which is a cool spot to try out.
Yeah. So actually the time I went to Harper's Ferry was in February. So I would say not ideal Harper's Ferry time. But, I went for Valentine's Day. It's just a little town teeming with romance. But I think more than that, it's a wonderful place to go for fall foliage because it's basically all a National Historic Park. So you can get there really easily via Amtrak. I got tickets on Amtrak for $14. It takes about an hour. Yeah, it's really great. And you can stay at a B&B there. It's a really cute little town. And there's so many different opportunities to check out the trees. One fun thing is that it's on the AT. It's actually sort of known as, they call it the psychological halfway point of the AT.
As in Appalachian Trail. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So it's not geographically the center of the trail, which goes from Georgia to Maine, Maine to Georgia, but it is sort of the mental halfway point for hikers who are doing the whole thing. So that's a fun thing to see hikers along the way. They're, feeling really good. You can hike part of it, or I guess, if you're really ambitious and want to do more. Harper's Ferry is at the confluence of the 2 major rivers in the area, the Potomac and the Shenandoah, which means it's just a really cool space to look at trees, but also see the water. And there's this area called the Point, which is sort of near John Brown's Fort, which is an area you can very easily Google Maps when you're in Harper's Ferry. You can both see a really pretty view of the confluence of these rivers, but also you get to see 3 whole states, which is really fun.
Wow.
Cool.
Maryland, Virginia, and West Virginia. There's just tons to do there. There's the C&O Canal Trail, just a ton of ways to be out in nature, be in a cool little getaway away from DC that's really not that far.
And because it's a national park and has all of those beautiful hiking trails, it's an obvious spot to see pretty leaves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's really great. I guess my tip for the area is that I'm a little bit of a history nerd, and there's a ton of really interesting history there. If you like historical tours or maybe ghost tours, some fun things to do in the fall, they offer a lot of that at Harper's Ferry. So you can really make the most of a trip to see leaves and also just really enjoy the area.
Yeah, I feel like this is also one of the ones that's more like getaway-y versus some of the other ones we're going to talk about.
But it's also like this really gives like New England leaf-peeping vibes, which I think is what people consider like the goal. And so, I mean, you mentioned that you'd like stay at a cute little Airbnb. There's a lot of history and like all of that atmosphere, I think, adds to the foliage you'd see there.
Yeah, definitely.
Going in a completely different direction, Kayla, you were looking at like what foliage opportunities there are in Alexandria, right?
Yeah, so a little closer to home, but still like something special, especially, you know, if you live here in the district, is just taking the metro down to Alexandria. Or if you want to make it a really special trip, you can take the water taxi, which will land you right, you know, on the waterfront. So you can take the yellow line. It's a bit of a walk. I think it's like 15, 20 minutes down to the water, getting off at the King Street station. It's, I think, similar to Harper's Ferry is the fact that, like, yes, there's a lot of great foliage there and there's a lot of beautiful trees and parks, but there's very much, it's like a day trip. Like there's things to do that are fall oriented, you know, there's like, again, historical tours, ghost tours, restaurants, like little cafes with pumpkin spice lattes. It's the whole vibe is like very much perfect for those like fall excursions and to really show off your fall fits. If you're looking at like specifically for trees and foliage, I would recommend going to James Point Park, which actually has one of the largest silver maples in the area. And like you really can't miss it. It's like this bright red, enormous bright red tree in the middle of the park. That's absolutely gorgeous.
I have photos of it and it's great.
Yeah,
I love
it's
it.
huge. And then Fort Ward Park is also has like dozens and dozens of red and orange trees. And I guess they have 6 state champion trees there, which I'm not entirely sure what that means, but I think it's a good thing. It's really a great option if you don't have a car. And it's like a day trip, right? You don't need to spend the night. You don't need to like go out of your way. It's like literally 20 minutes.
And I think the trolleys in Alexandria are free as well. So if you get off the metro and you don't want to walk down to the waterfront, there's a trolley runs on King Street. Yeah.
Nice. One of my favorite things to do also is if you have a bike, I love biking down like the Mount Vernon Trail down to Alexandria. It just has like beautiful foliage. It's like the wind is in your hair. It's just so luxurious.
Yeah, and coming off the humidity of summer, it's just nice to be able to do like physical activity outside in the fall.
And not just like drown in your sweat. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, it's Mike here. If you have been listening to this podcast since the beginning, you have heard me talk about Car Care to Go before. Well, they just changed their name to Roda, R-O-D-A, but it is still the same great service. It's made exactly for folks like me who forget about an oil change until the blinking light reminds them, and then forget about it again after I go to the local garage and find out that they're busy. Roda simplifies all that. You make an appointment, they pick up your ride, and they bring it back a few hours later with the oil change, the wipers replaced, or any of the other hundreds of services they offer completed. I got a freebie the first time, but the price is pretty good even without it. They're accessible all over DC, and their work is covered by a great warranty to give you peace of mind. Instead of sitting in a waiting room drinking bad coffee, why not sit at home and drink your own coffee while they do the work? Get your first oil change for just $20.23. That's 2023, get it? With the code HEYDC20. That's HEYDC20. Sign up at Roda.com, that's RODA.com, with the code HEYDC20. Hey, parents! Celebrate the joy of early learning with your little one at DC Public Library's annual Starfest. That's Saturday, September 30th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the MLK Library downtown. STAR stands for Sing, Talk, and Read, which are 3 key early literacy practices that will help your child grow into a confident learner. At this year's Starfest, you'll learn how you can add STAR practices to your daily routine. You'll also enjoy singing and dancing to live music, playing fun games, and more. At Starfest, DC families with young children can also sign up for the Books from Birth program to get a free book delivered to your home each month. Don't miss this year's Starfest on Saturday, September 30th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the MLK Library. Learn more at dclibrary.org/star. That's dclibrary.org/STAR. Coming soon to Cleveland Park in D.C., the Loggia Towns at Uptown Plaza, which is a boutique collection of 4 brand new townhomes, with no 2 of them being alike. Located at Connecticut and Newark, each home features 2 to 3 bedrooms and dedicated outdoor space. Sales start in October. Visit uptownplazadc.com to join the VIP list and be the first to know when pre-sale commences. Again, that's uptownplazadc.com, uptownplazadc.com. Sales and marketing by Urban Pace.
The Capitol Crescent Trail is also a good place to bike and see foliage, right, Julia?
Yeah, so this is the one that I tend to go to with my family. Obviously, like, I grew up in Bethesda, so this one is extremely convenient for my family and myself. The way to get there, if you're trying to get there via public transport, is option A, take a bus into Georgetown, come from the south and go in that way. You can take the circulator bus in Georgetown too. Any bus that crosses the bridge from Roslyn into Georgetown, any of those buses will get you there. The other option is if you're taking Metro proper, head off at the red line at the top of the trail in Bethesda. One of the cool things about the Capitol Crescent Trail, at least for me, is it's just like 7 miles of unadulterated, no cars, you're in nature foliage. But yeah, this one is definitely, it's not for the faint of heart if you're going to do all like 7 miles of it. Bring water, bring snacks, like make a whole thing out of it. I did it with my family. It took us like 3.5 hours to walk it. We were kind of walking at like a brisk pace, but it was also the summer, so we're like pouring sweat. I imagine in the fall it's a little easier, but wear comfortable walking shoes. The other thing you can do, the one thing that my brother and I used to do growing up, was we would take little like side quests, especially closer to the Potomac River, because the trail like parallels it. There's like woods everywhere, just surrounds it, so you can just like hop off the trail. And there are little like different trails that like curve back around and go back to the section of land that has like pavement on it. You can take a scooter on it, you can bike on it, you can rollerblade on it, you can anything with wheels except for a car, you can probably do on it. So highly recommend.
I will say that's one of my favorite bikes in the city. Like one of my favorite Sunday activities, especially in the fall, is like I start from the Georgetown end.
Yep.
And it's all like very faintly uphill towards Bethesda. And that means that on the way back, you've like done all your workout and like you can just kind of like zoom along past the river and all the way down into Georgetown to get yourself like a little ice cream or a little coffee or something to round out your trip. It's a perfect bike ride. I don't know if I would walk it. That seems hard.
If you're getting on, like there are different points where you could get off. Like you could get off at Massachusetts Avenue, you can get off near the C&O Canal, but like I highly recommend, like, if you're planning on doing this and you're just like, I'm gung-ho, I'm gonna walk 7 miles today and just peep the foliage, like, please wear comfortable shoes, please bring water, like, mentally prepare yourself to be, like, kind of sweaty at the end. One thing I recommend.
Yeah, note that it's 7 miles one way.
Yeah.
So you would have to come back.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you did just describe how you can use public transportation to get to either end of the trail, so you can just get back home that way.
Yep.
So that's pretty sick. I love that. And I love the little side adventures that you and your brother would go on, because that like just adds a whole different level to the like nature aspect of this.
If you like kind of want a hike, but you don't really want a hike, this is for you.
Well, also, if you want to hike but don't really want to hike, Windy Run Park is a really good spot to check out. It's in Arlington, and there's actually a lot of great like hike type spots in Arlington that are leisurely, easy to get to, but you walk a few minutes and you forget that you're in the city, which is really cool. And so Windy Run, the best way to get there is to take the 55 bus, which you can get from the Roslyn Metro stop. Like it's one of those many bus stops right outside the Metro. And so you take the 55 bus, it's a 10-minute walk from there to the actual park. And it's a really cool spot because, like I said, it feels like you're not really in the city anymore. It's 14 acres. There's a waterfall right along there called Cow Falls, like CAO Falls, if you want to route to that while you're walking around. And the falls go directly into the Potomac. So it's pretty because then you're right along the water again and like right across from Georgetown. Another cool thing about it is that if you do have kids, there's a park really close to there called Woodmont Park, which has a jungle gym. So you can always like tire out the children there if the hike doesn't do it for them. But yeah, it's like very secluded. So that makes it a really good spot to see foliage because there aren't that many people there. Like,
Now we're advertising them. We're ruining the seclusion.
I know.
that's true. Don't all go at once. Coordinate with each other. We'll help you. But yeah, it's just like really beautiful. And then because it's on the water, you can see all of the like colorful trees on the other side of the Potomac too, you know? Hot tip, if you do want to make it like a full day thing, there aren't a lot of places to get food near the falls or like near Windy Run Park itself. So definitely grab food near Roslyn, like near the metro, take it with you, and then you can have a little picnic right by the falls, which would be really beautiful.
That sounds so nice.
That does sound so lovely.
Right?
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a great way to spend a
Go on a
day.
field trip.
Exactly.
We should have done this from there. That's what we should have. We
should've.
should have done the live
The
taping
rushing
by the
falls in the
waterfalls.
background.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Superimpose that in.
Oh, we'll do it next year. That's a great idea.
Exactly.
But we know that some of our listeners are too lazy to even go to Arlington, which, like, I don't know if I blame them. So let's throw in one option for people who, like, really, really don't want to leave the city, but want to see some pretty trees. Julia, what do you got?
Okay. Theodore Roosevelt Island is like technically in between DC and Arlington, right? Like it's in the middle of the river. It's an island. Like you are probably going to have to cross the bridge to get to Roslyn to get there. I'm sorry, but like desperate times call for desperate measures, you know? In terms of getting there, the GW Trail, you can bike it or walk it. And also you can take the metro to Roslyn and then walk there. The cool thing for me about Roosevelt Island is that like it's straight up an island. Like you are in nature. Like there are sections that have like wooden boards and slats and some of them have gravel on it, but like you're in the woods. You are on an island in the middle of the Potomac River. In terms of trails, there's the Woods Trail. It's a short little 1/3 of a mile trail. It's right through the heart of the island. It includes the Memorial Plaza with the statue and the fountains. That one is paved. If you're looking for something a little bit more adventurous, there's the Upland Trail, which is a 3/4 mile trail, which goes the width of the island. Passes through some forests, loops around the former site of the Mason Mansion, which is kind of cool, but runs all the way through. And if you're really like, I am up for an adventure, you could do the Swamp Trail, which is 1.5 miles, and it's a loop around the island. It just takes you all along the coast of the island. It passes through like swamp woods and cattail marshes. Sections of it are pea gravel and some of it is boardwalk, but like you're on dirt and rock. But yeah, there's options for kind of everyone. In that
That's
regard.
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's really
so
cool.
we've gone through a bunch of options. This weekend, which spot are you going to go to see foliage?
Teddy Roosevelt Island. I feel like it's one of those things where like you make a day of it. Like you just decide, you know what, I'm going to wake up. Hopefully it's not too crowded. You go there, you do your 1.5 mile loop. You get as close to the Potomac as you can get without actually stepping foot into the Potomac. You see the leaves, it's all pretty. And then when you're done, you just pop into Georgetown for like a coffee or lunch or a snack or whatever you want to do. That's my move.
I really want to check out Harper's Ferry. I've been before, but not in fall. And I really want to do some hiking and climbing there. And yeah, I think it'll be really fun.
Yeah, tomorrow, September 27th, will be my 1-year anniversary of living in DC. And so maybe I'll celebrate by leaving DC and going to Alexandria. The
There you
water
go.
taxi sounds really cool. I've never done
It's
that.
actually
so,
really fun. Yeah, it's really fun.
yeah,
You feel like you're like in Venice or something.
that sounds great.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, Alexandria is my pick too because the trees that you talked about really sold me. I mean, any time of year I would be enticed by that, but especially when it comes to foliage.
Yeah.
A true leaf peeper.
Indeed. Well, thanks, guys. This was so fun.
Thanks, Priyanka.
Thank you.
Yeah. See you guys out there.
And before you go, here's some quick news. If you're going to be driving in Arlington, there's a new traffic law that you need to know. Drivers can now face a fine up to $500 if they don't stop completely for pedestrians who are in the crosswalk. The previous law only required drivers to yield, but that led to some incidents of pedestrians being dangerously cut off. Also, Bancroft Elementary School in Mount Pleasant now has too many higher income families to qualify for the Title I federal grant. That's $90,000 that the school is losing. A decade ago, 77% of Bancroft students received free and reduced cost meals. Now, only about 25% of the students are eligible, an indication of the area's gentrification. Some are worried about Bancroft remaining a multiracial and bilingual school. And lastly, dangerous incidents that killed or injured patients in Maryland's hospitals have more than tripled between 2019 and 2022. Experts say the dangerous missteps are likely fueled by staffing shortages and the strain of the pandemic, but they also may reflect larger systemic failures. That's all for today here on CityCast DC. If you enjoyed the show, tell a friend who loves traipsing around the leaves in their fall fit. And subscribe to our newsletter, because Kayla's got even more foliage tips for you in tomorrow's edition. You can sign up for free at dc.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with even more news from around the city. Bye!